Hello people of the internet. As you may have seen on my last video, I made a video on what units I recommend you try and pull as a beginner player or re-rolling. Today I have, after I looked at that video, I got some feedback on the video from my friends in Discord servers, etc. And I decided to make an updated version. I know it's a bit soon, it's a bit early obviously, but basically I didn't realise that all I was basically saying in that video was putting across my views of what I think players should be doing, which I still believe that you should be doing what that video says. But the other video, I'd recommend you do that for if you're trying to prepare for Engrave as like a beginner player and you want to get through the Engrave dungeons a bit easier. Try and pull those units that I was talking about. But in this video, I'm just going to basically explain and elaborate a bit more, like expand the units, if you know what I mean. So if we go on over to my Huntresses, I'm going to go through the best duos and single units that you should be going for, because as you saw in my last video, if you have seen it, Octavius and Da Vinci, they were the two that I was trying to recommend, but I didn't really say that. But sort of what I'm trying to do in this video is explain that. But anyway, I'll stop blabbering on and let's go on with it. So, the wind duo you want to go for as a beginner player. This is only if you're trying to get the best output with anything. Obviously, I'll be going through all these. I'm not sure about Earth and Water because I haven't used a lot of those units, but with the Wind, as you may have heard from a lot of players, Octavius and Da Vinci are the two Wind units you want to be trying to get as a reroller if you're rerolling, trying to get the best team that you can. With Octavius, like I said in my other video, you can get her at level 45 within the beginner. I always forget the name of it, but there will be in the events tab in here, there will be like a beginner section where whenever you, basically each day of the new serve that you are on, you will get loot, and you get Octavius on day 5 and being level 45. You can also buy her for $1 in the events section, as you see here. You can get Da Vinci, and you can also get Octavius. Octavius is $1, Da Vinci here is 100, but that's only because you're getting practice points, Thaler coin, advanced gems, and private letters, which will also buff the unit up to level 80 as a first pull. If you're a whale, I'd recommend you get this. If you're not, just like a light spender like myself or a free-to-play, I recommend you just try and pull for her in the normal banners, because if you have Da Vinci but don't have Octavius, Da Vinci kind of lacks in power, and with Octavius, she is good on her own, but she increases in her power with Octavius, which is probably the best duo I would recommend with there. If you're willing to spend that $1 on Octavius, I'd recommend you try and pull Da Vinci and Shakespeare, or Da Vinci and Hu Tao, because that way you're getting an extra unit which will be helping you throughout the game, and that $1 on Octavius, you'll get her no matter what. Now, moving on to Fire. As you can see, I have Honda, which is a super great unit. It's only a shame that she is sadly passed. She will have a reroll at some point in the near future, but I won't be going through her like on Wind and do Robin, because she's an exclusive unit and you can't get her via the normal banner, which is the wish list. So for Fire, the best duo I would recommend you try to go for is Merlin, who is very helpful Her burn is super helpful, and she does AoE damage as well, so she can burn all enemies. If she's high enough, she has a 100% chance to apply burn to all enemies when she hits them, which is just absolutely amazing. Also, I always forget which skill it is of hers. This skill, when Merlin is in battle, for every 1 stack of burn mark inflicted on the enemy, her team's crit increases by 1%, stacks up to 8 times. At 141, that is when she is 4-star. She can increase it by 3% and is stacking up to 24 times. I'm not sure about maths or any about that, but pretty high basically. And if you have Octavius, her crit will be immensely high. The next unit for fire to pair with Merlin would be Mick, for sure, or Michelangelo. Essentially, what Mick does, she gives all allies a shield, and that shield reflects damage back onto the enemy, well, onto us basically. So say if you had Mick on your team, and she gave your front line allies the shield, when the enemy attack those front 2 allies, the damage that they deal is decreased slightly, but is also reflected back onto them, so your teammates aren't taking a lot of damage, which is, it's so annoying to verse when you're doing plot, especially with a win team, but you can bypass it by having Robin or someone like that to tangle her and freeze her. But she is a great unit to have in your team. If you can't get Merlin or Mick, if you get Merlin or Mick, you get one or the other. Izumo is a super great helpful. She's so helpful in this game. She heals, but the downside is that she uses her own HP to heal. So you kind of want to have her HP and ATK built up, the same as Hu Tao, you want her HP and ATK up. With Izumo's HP up, she will last longer and heal for a bit more as well. And I can't remember which one it is. Here, this is how she heals. She consumes 30% of her HP to restore the equal HP to her allies. So whatever HP she's taken off of herself, she heals it to her allies. But when she is up, when she is up to level 41, consumes 40% and restores 150% of an ally's HP. So she heals the exact same amount of HP and half extra, which is absolutely amazing. With this team, each time her team crits on an enemy, Izumo recovers 5% of her HP. Any overflowed HP is added to her max HP, and the amount added pre-battle cannot exceed her HP limit. Essentially, what this does is, if you have Merlin, who increases the crit, if either Merlin, Izumo, or if you have Octavius in your team and she's critting, Izumo will restore her health and keep restoring it as long as your team is critting. And she can also decrease her health whilst healing everyone else and buffing her own health. So she's sort of like a mid-team that you kind of want to have going to here. You kind of want to have her here. Here on your team, because you can be a bit tanky with that skill whilst also being an immense healer. Super helpful. Next unit, if you can't get Izumo, Mick, or Merlin like all together, like Mick, I can't speak, Merlin and Mick, Mick and Izumo, Merlin and Izumo, if you can't get any of those together, if you can get one of those to pair with Oda, that is super helpful. As you can see, Oda is a defensive unit, so she is a tank. And with Oda, let me try and find her skill here. Enheartened. When she is 4-star, or just base, level 80 or 61. When she deals damage, she will convert 20% off to 30% of that damage she deals in HP. So she deals damage. Her damage is very high, especially against burned enemies, which is why Merlin is super helpful. Because if she increases the crit on burned enemies, and Oda is dealing damage to those, she will be self-healing, super helpful. Her self-heal is crazy with Merlin and Oda paired. They both do immense crit, and it's just super helpful throughout the game. I haven't used her a lot, but from what I've seen, like through my playtime on Server 1, she's not really recommended and she's not very helpful. Moving on to water. I am not very educated on water, but I will try my best to explain the units I would recommend for water. Romulus is very helpful. She is a tank. She can give one ally a shield, whilst also freezing enemies who already have a frost mark or anything that can freeze them, basically. As I said, I'm not really educated, so I can't really explain how she plays very well, because I just haven't really used her a lot. She's up, but only for Shrine to get the extra buffs within here. And the next water unit is Helen. Helen is very recommended if you're building a water team. She can heal allies, she can increase their ATK, and she also has a chance to revive a random ally that is dead. So if you're in a boss fight, and say your tank, like Shake, Oda, or anyone like that dies, and Helen is still alive, she can resurrect that ally, whilst also giving them some HP back onto them, which is very, very helpful. Next unit is Yagyu. Yagyu Jubei she's very good early game, because when she kills an enemy, she is able to attack again. So early game, she can basically get you through the first two to 4 chapters very easily once she's level 80. But she does start to drop off later on, due to the fact that not a lot of people are getting one shot. But her damage dealt with crit is very good, especially with a water team if you don't have anyone else to deal crit or anyone like that. She's very helpful, and she also attacks the same way Watt does, but with a bit more damage behind it. She attacks within straight lines. So, on here, if I were to build my team like this, she would attack all these units here. If my team was built like this, she would attack these 2 spots here, and here she attacks these 2 spots here. Whatever side she is placed on, she will deal damage to that line. So if she's placed on, let me go back onto here. Say she's placed here, she will attack these 2. If she's placed on the opposite side, she'll attack these 2. In the middle, attack these. That's just basically how she attacks, and it's very unique in my opinion, and very helpful. Now, next unit is Remus. Remus will be dealing water damage to enemies with a splash, sort of, if that makes any sense. She basically decreases speed, which is very helpful when versing Octavius, since most players want Octavius up with speed, so she can deal a lot of attack, and is very fast. As you can see, mine has 203. She is my fastest unit, so if I go against Remus, she will be decreasing that speed very, very slowly. And she also attacks multiple units. She attacks I think it's 2 to 3 units she attacks all at once. And she also, with the watermark she applies, it increases the chance for Romulus to apply freeze. The next unit is Akechi. Akechi is best paired with Remus, or if I go on to Shrine. I don't have a lot of water units, so it's kind of hard to do this. With Artemis. And Artemis does AoE damage, and she attacks three enemies. And paired with Remus, she can freeze a lot of enemies. The thing with Akechi is that she needs enemies to be frozen to deal a lot more damage than she would with base attacks. She deals a lot more damage against frozen enemies, sort of like how the fire units, they deal more damage to enemies that are burnt. Akechi deals more damage to enemies that are frozen. The next unit for the water is Columbus. Now with Columbus, I have never used her, but I have seen a couple of videos and a lot of people in Discord saying how good she is. But she can bind targets, so she can decrease their hit, which is very helpful against Robin. With a lot of players now having Robin on server 2 through 5, what Robin does, she increases her own crit, and with her exclusive weapon up, she can increase her team's hit. But with Columbus against her, her hit will be getting decreased, which will weaken her. I can't speak today. Which will weaken her combined, or her tangled hits, which is quite stressful when you're versing Columbus, but when you're using Columbus, it's very helpful. Zenji and Darwin are good units. For server 1, for servers 2 onwards, Darwin hasn't been released yet. Zenji is currently released, but if you are free to play or a budget player and you don't have enough pulls to get to 3-star, I wouldn't recommend you pull her. I'd recommend you save for Takanaka, who is a wind unit. Moving on to Earth. Now, Earth is a very, very tough team to build. With Earth being the hardest team to build, it's the hardest to make a review on as an early player. The only, I'd say, 3 units I can really recommend that you try and get if you're wanting an Earth team, or if you get Earth team, is Ares, Nome, and Zuchu. What Ares does, she gives all her allies a shield, or a percent of, like, I think it's all to 3 allies, a shield. And with that shield, when your allies have taken damage, Ares will convert that damage and take it herself. So your allies won't be taking damage, Ares will be taking all the damage herself. So she's built very tanky with a lot of HP and a lot of defense. Your whole team can basically tank through Earth Tower. It's very helpful. Nome, what she necessarily does, she applies the curse mark. So each curse mark takes 90% of the caster's attack damage. So if she's doing a base attack and that enemy has a curse mark, just a basic attack will take 90% more damage, which is very, very, very effective. She also attacks the backline enemies. So if you look over here, so if I have Robin and Da Vinci on the back line with Hu Tao, Nome will attack these 3 units and giving them curse mark, which will thus decrease how well I can't speak, which will give them a curse mark, thus dealing more damage to them and killing them. Now, the next Earth unit is Zuchu. Zuchu is a sort of sub-tank, if in the sense that she can be tanky. She's a defensive unit, but Ares is a much better tank than her for tanking. Zuchu is more of an offensive tank. What she does is she deals AoE damage to enemies within all enemies basically in the same section. If I can go into my guild adventure, I will do a mock battle in this, and I will showcase how they do their abilities. So I'll just put these two here, just so we can have them there. Ares, Nome, and Zuchu. Wrong person. Zuchu. So Shake and Honda, if you just want to ignore those two units there, as I said, to keep my other team alive. You see that she attacks the back line enemies, she ignores the front enemies, which is what Nome does. Zuchu does single target damage. Nome does all enemy damage or all backline enemies, which is very, very strong. It's a shame there we couldn't do it because they're very low damage. But yeah, that is sort of what they do. But with Zuchu, she deals the AoE damage, obviously. I'll try and see if I am versing her in here. I'm not in there. I'm trying to find if I am versing anyone in there. No. Which is quite annoying. Oh, I have no attempts in there. If I wish I could showcase Zuchu, but I can't necessarily do that because she's just a hard unit at the moment, because they're level 1, so they're only using the stats they have from my shrine, which is very annoying. But those are the 3 units on Earth that I would recommend you try and pull. For light and dark, if you're a whale, pull them by all means. If you're a free-to-play or a budget player like myself, don't try and pull them. They're just, you need them at least 3-star. I have Dante at 2-star with an extra copy, so don't come at me saying, oh, but you've done this and that and got Dante up to 2-star. I haven't done it on purpose. I honestly have not. I've just got her up to 2-star via friendship summons, normal summons, and pulling Robin and Honda. That is the only way, that is the only reason why she's up. But if you're a whale, by all means, pull them. I'm not judging. But if you're a free-to-play or a budget player, I strongly recommend you don't try and focus them. Try and focus either of these, any of these factions, which are the best to focus on, easiest to get. Since you can use normal summons, after 100 summons, obviously you unlock this, and you're able to select these units. So I hope this video was more educational than my last one. I do apologise about me putting across my views, not very helping a lot. I hope this was a more educational version of what I did past. If you are trying to build the engrave, like I said at the start of the video, my other video is a lot more helpful for engrave and preparing for it. If you're not just trying to play casual, trying to bide your time and play the game casually and for fun, by all means follow this this video and use the tips that I've given. Sorry if my explanations were very bad or just terrible all around. I'm still new to all this and all that, but I hope it helped you all, helped all you guys out, and see you in the next one. Bye.